So we'll start with this, our basic parts of speech, right? There are actually about 8 to 10 parts of speech, but these are our basic 5 parts. We have nouns, pronouns, which is a type of noun, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Okay? So the first thing is a noun, right? The most common definition is a person, place, thing, or idea. Very common nouns are like Tommy, right, which would be a person, or the store, which would be a place. A thing could be an apple, right? But the one I want to spend some time on is an idea, right? Ideas can be nouns, and along those lines, so can concepts. So a good example of this is the concept of, let's say, honesty. Right? If I say honesty is very important to me, honesty is a noun. Okay. Another example of this would be knowledge. Right? I could say something like, we are here to build our knowledge. Right? And knowledge is an idea or a concept, and so it's also a noun. So these are a little bit trickier in terms of nouns because you can't see them, you can't feel them, you can't touch them, you can't move them, right? They're not physical, but they are still nouns, right? So keep that in mind, this idea of ideas or concepts, they are still nouns. Okay? Within the category of nouns, we have something called a pronoun, right? A pronoun, again, common ones that we've heard of, he or she, I, right? You, they, these are all pronouns. And as it says right here, they stand in place of nouns. Right, so pronouns replace nouns, and this is something you guys probably learned, back in elementary school when your teacher might have told you, "Hey, stop using the same noun over and over and over again." Right? You can switch it up. You can say he. You can say she. You can say it. You can say us. So we use pronouns for convenience, right? Because they're a little bit easier to use in our writing. They create better flow, but also because it's just breaks up the repetition or the redundancy that we see in writing. As far as the ACT and test prep, what we need to know about pronouns is they must match in their plurality. Meaning, if I'm talking about, say, one person, or a better example is if I'm talking about one thing, right, I would refer to it as an it, right? If I talk about, can you hand me the remote is one thing, so you would call it it. We'll see some examples down the line in this video that kind of give a little bit more tricky or get a little bit trickier. But just remember that pronouns, if they're going to replace something, they must accurately replace it. So they must match it, whether it's in gender or it's in plurality. Okay. The next concept here is verbs. All right. Verbs, we usually think of them as actions. All right. So running, swimming, jumping, these are all actions. But the tricky one here is a state of being. And the most common one is the word is. Right? Is and all its conjugations, meaning I am, you are, she or he is. These are all verbs. Right? Am, are, right? These are all forms of, these are all conjugated verbs of the word to be. But is the most common verb that we use, right? It describes our state of being. How are we? I am happy. He is sad. She is energetic. So just remember, it's not always something that it's not always an action, right? A verb. It's not always something physical that you can see someone doing. Sometimes it's just how someone is, and that still reflects a verb. Okay? Our next one are adjectives. These are probably the least tricky or the least confusing because it simply just describes or modifies a noun, right? Adjectives can only describe nouns. So tall, short, big, small, red, blue, these are all adjectives, right? The last one, adverbs, are a little bit interesting, right? Because they also describe things, but they describe a verb or an adjective. Okay, so the example I'm going to use here is he ran across the field very, with an R, slowly. Okay. Now we have two adjectives here, or sorry, two adverbs here. The first adverb is slowly. Okay, and a dead giveaway for an adverb is if it ends in ly. Okay, this adverb is going to modify or describe how the person ran, how he ran. Okay, and that's pretty clear there. The second one, which gets a little bit trickier, is the word very. Very is also an adverb, right? It doesn't end in ly, but it's also an adverb. And what it modifies is the adverb slowly.